Debbie Esquivas, CFA. Mrs. Esquivas is the president of 62 Incorporated and a volunteer for CFA Society Philippines. So please welcome on stage Ms. Esquivas.
Thank you so much. Is everybody still awake? Okay, good. So our next speaker will talk about Claritas For Clarity. He is Mr. Richard McGillivray, the Director of Institutional Partnerships in Asia Pacific of CFA's Institute. Richard McGillivray joined CFA Institute in June 2013 and is a director in our Global Institutional Partnerships Division. He identifies and works with companies across Asia Pacific who use CFA Institute's programs and services to contribute to their clients and their employees' success. CFA Institute, he has been Asia Head of Investor Relations for a UK headquartered Asia Asset Management business, for whom he built and supported a broad client base, including private and retail banks, institutions, funds of family, and family offices in the Asia Pacific region, where he has lived for the past 13 years. A trained teacher and adult educator, Richard has a postgraduate HDE and Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. He was SFC licensed and a responsible officer for the asset management business that he worked for in Hong Kong. Without further ado, I bring you Mr. Richard McGillivray.
Okay, hi. Thank you for having us here today. I should open by saying that of the people who've been on the stage, I am by far the most unremarkable. Alright, but I am the person you should listen to for now, because there is a journey that you have to take as young people to get from where you're sitting here to the kind of brain power and ability and training that you've just seen on the stage. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about. So, I'm going to take a few examples of things that people have said already today. The first thing that I noticed, and I should add, I'm a school teacher, so I see people on their mobile phones from long distance. The first thing that I should say is that 100,000 pesos, that becomes 28 million pesos. Does that sound good to you? Okay, that's great. Because the first step in that process is getting hold of the 100,000 pesos. Okay. And if you want the 100,000 pesos, you need to be gainfully employed. You have to make the journey from being a student to being a working person. Then you can earn that money to invest. So we shouldn't put the cart before the horse in this matter, and I wanted to flag that. A nice piece of advice from Marvin, so thank you Marvin. Get into investments that you understand. Alright? Principally, you should be investing in yourself now, so that you can gain the knowledge and the experience that you need in order to invest in other things later. So we're going to start talking about that, the missing 100,000 pesos, where does it come from, and making investments in yourself. Okay, can I have the slides back there? Quite intimidating looking at myself. Right, now there are going to be some numbers that we're going to learn today in the back corners there. Alright, the first number is 3. Okay. Now I'm here to tell you about our Claritas program, and I want to explain to you why I think you should consider it seriously. Now I spoke at this event 2 years ago, and I didn't say then what I'm going to say now, because what is different between then and now is that over 200 companies are using this program and over 10,000 people have completed it. Okay, so we know some things now that I didn't know then. So what I want to tell you is what, why, and who. So those are the three things. Now, before we get into it, I'm just going to go rather quickly through the what. Can I have the next slide? Thanks. All right, so what is Claritas? It's a 100-hour program. Okay, how much time did you spend watching soap operas on TV last year? I'm just interested. Or how much time did you spend Facebooking last year? All right? The numbers are huge, okay? They're huge numbers. This is a 100-hour program, and it gives you an internationally recognized certificate in the fundamentals of finance, and that is going to become important to what I'm going to say later about employment. The critical value it brings to you is that it has an annually updated curriculum. Now, just by way of a show of hands here, this is not obviously a new concept, but how many of you, and be careful because I might ask for an explanation, no I won't, okay. Just by way of a show of hands, how many of you know what a Sharpe ratio is? Put up your hand if you know what a Sharpe ratio is. Okay, look around. All right. So, it is critical that you gain an understanding of the fundamentals for two reasons. If you want to invest in yourself, you need to be employable. If you want a career in finance, you need to understand what the possibilities in a career in finance are. Those are critical things because finance, much like being a business analyst, a data analyst, is really quite vast. You heard from people today, in finance you can work for yourself, you can work in industry, you can work for the government. But what is finance? Thanks, can I have my slide back? Thank you. You know, like, it's a bit like vanity, you know, it kind of creeps up on you and suddenly there you are. Now the critical thing about Claritas is that it is a fully supported program. It has quite sophisticated learning support tools built into it. It is currently $685 US, okay? So let's just get the ugliness out there. I think the price is going to come down because the volume of people taking it has gone up. So look out for new pricing in Claritas around November. Okay. Now I want to get into the real meat and potatoes of this. It's the only industry qualification. When I say industry, industry-derived qualification, it is written by industry for industry, for people who work in finance outside of investment decision-making roles. If you want an investment decision-making role, you need to do the CFA program. If you are not sure about that, you need to invest in yourself while you work it out. Or, to put it another way, work while you dream, if you like. Okay. Now, can I have the next slide? Alright, now I just want to touch on what is in this curriculum before I get into why I think you should do it. Now, I'd like you to look at this slide and think about what part of this you have already studied. Okay, so it gives you an overview of the investment industry, which you will know something about, but not everything. It deals with ethics and regulations. Okay, here's a question for you. How many of you know what the word ethics means? Show of hands. Okay, alright, because I'm sure that many people here are ethical people. I'm sure that many people here make sound ethical decisions on a wide range of issues. But what ethics means is a system for judging what is right and wrong. Okay, and ethics in finance is different to the ethics of dealing with your baby brother or your older sister. Okay, so that in itself has a whole learning experience that people need to go through. If you look further, regulation. What do you think is the main driver of the shape of finance in the world today? Regulation. That was a little gift brought to us by the global financial crisis, and it is very necessary for the protection of people's money. Tools and inputs, macroeconomics, show of hands, who's doing macroeconomics or has done it as a subject? Nice, okay, lots of that. Macroeconomics, microeconomics, international trade, and so forth and so on. All right, derivatives. Put up your hand if you know what derivatives are. Oh, okay, cool, well done. All right, very nice. Okay, derivative scores, quantitative concepts. Now, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but as you will see from this, it covers the full breadth of the CFA program, but it is descriptive. It doesn't have the analytic depth. You do not need a calculator to take the Claritas exam. You do need mathematical understanding, but you don't need to perform calculations in this examination. So my first statement to you is if you want that 100,000 that becomes a 28 million, you need to be employed and you need to understand this industry. And I put it to you that right now, in most respects, you have neither of those two. All right, could I have the next one? Now, this is what we are going to offer you through this Claritas experience. We will bring some clarity to the complexity of finance. It cannot be simplified, it is not simple. We will help you share a common understanding with people around you, and that is also why it offers employment opportunities. In my next slides, I'm going to start talking about businesses and job opportunities. It definitely improves performance. I work in companies, so our focus is how much does the company invest to get what ROI on performance. So we have some quite interesting data on improved performance in companies. Next slide, please. It helps you stand out. Okay, so how many people are in this room? 3,000 and a few. Okay. How many people in the Philippines have a Claritas investment certificate? Anyone want to guess a number? All right. It's just over 120 people. Okay. Just over 120 people. My Claritas certificate number is 6274. All right. So it is something that means something to me. And I'm not standing there talking about something that I don't know or understand myself. You will stand out with Claritas and you will have your confidence built. Thank you. Can we have the next slide? Right. Why are there global businesses employing people in the Philippines? What do they need from people they employ? And how do you prove that to them? Okay, and I'm just going to go back to Secretary Pirsima, right at the beginning of today, said three things. You have to have and be able to prove you have technical skills. That's critical. And if you're sitting in this room thinking about a career in finance and you don't yet know what a Sharpe ratio is, you've got some work to do. Hopefully you've all been out there on your phones checking that out, okay? Now, in order for you to play your part in finance, an important industry in the growth of your country, you need that confidence in yourself and you need other people to have confidence in you. People employing you is about them making a judgment about their confidence in you. And you heard earlier from one of the panelists, what is it that people are looking for when they interview? So what was it? It was three things. Who can tell me? Knowledge, skills, and there was one other.
Attitude.
Okay, all right. It was an aptitude, a hunger, all right, a desire to do things yourself, and all those three things together they referred to as competencies. And I think that is a critical takeaway for you today. You need knowledge, all right? But what is the most important thing out of those three was the attitude of I can learn and I'm here to put myself forward. That is what's going to make you stand out. Next slide, please. Now this is why there are global finance firms employing lots of people in the Philippines. All right. There are three things, okay? Information transfer. It's simple. You can't work in the Philippines doing something for an investor in America if that has to be put into an envelope and into a bag and onto a ship, and then it's got to sail across the sea, okay? That can't work, okay? So efficiencies in information systems, that big data stuff, is what enables you to sit here and work in Manila for a firm that's providing services to customers elsewhere. All right, so you know that that data efficiency is here because some of you have just looked up Sharp ratio on your phone, okay? So that's how efficient it is. What else do people need? They need a general language that people share. Everyone in this room speaks fluent English. How do I know that? Because you're still awake, all right? If I was speaking Italian, you would have drifted off, okay? So, you have that in place. And then you need effective risk systems. In other words, how does the person sitting in the United States know that the person in the Philippines is good enough to do the job? Now, I was talking to some university faculty earlier today. I studied at the University of Cape Town. Put your hand up if you've been to Cape Town in South Africa. Right, okay, put your hand up if you know anything about the University of Cape Town. So how do you know that what I have obtained is credible? And that is the dilemma that an international business faces. It doesn't know your university, it doesn't know your town, and more often than not, it doesn't even know the Philippines as a country. Okay, so you need to think about the international accreditation of what you know. That matters to people. Now, the real reason that jobs are in the Philippines is because all those other things are in place, and then there's this thing called labor arbitrage. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So what it's basically saying is a loan officer in the US would cost that company $35,000 US, and the same person would cost $8,000 in the Philippines. All right, that is labor arbitrage, and that's why the jobs are coming here, because those other criteria are met, and there's labor arbitrage. Okay, those jobs are not going to South Africa because the other criteria are not met. Okay, all right, let's carry on. Okay, so what are they looking for? They're looking for the labor, which is you, to have the right knowledge and language ability and quality. And then they want to be able to standardize that because that's part of the risk system. So they need to know that the person they've employed in the Philippines has the same common understanding of the industry and the work they're doing as a person that they are employing in Canada. And the Claritas Investment Certificate offers you that. It offers you the knowledge, and it offers you the credibility that is understood globally. And that is its great value and asset to you. Next slide. Someone is running away. Okay. I think we have a light that is just burnt out. Everyone okay there? Nice. Very exciting.
Very excited.
All right. Those guys there, are you okay taking your seats again? All right. Interesting. So the question is, from a risk perspective, should you sit under the same lights? Or should you go and sit under some lights that haven't yet burned out? It's an interesting one. Okay. Now, if I'm an employer, and there are a lot of employers coming to the Philippines, those are the questions that they are asking themselves. How do they know what you know, and how can you certify that? I think I have the answer to the risk question, is people would rather sit under the lights that haven't burnt out yet. So, good call. Let's let people move across there. You guys okay? No one injured? It's Smells pretty fiery. Okay. All right, thank you. Next slide. All right, so I should keep an eye on the time. Now let's just go quickly to which firms are using Claritas. All right? Why they're using it, we've pretty much covered. Which firms are using it and which staff benefit from it. Next slide, please. All right. Now, you can't read this, but these are all statements, and I'll read the one for you, okay? All right? Can you see it from there? Okay, you can to some extent. I'll skip the reading. Allianz Global Investors uses Claritas, and they have very specific reasons for using it. Next slide, please. Morningstar uses Claritas, and they have very specific reasons for it. Again, I won't read it out. Next slide, please. PACER, who you won't have heard of, but that PACER is an association of communications companies. So this isn't just about finance, it's about other things too. Next slide, please. Now there's a word cloud of the companies who use Claritas in one capacity or another in their businesses, and those are the companies who will let us use their names. Okay, it's actually a much bigger group than that. Now I have a client in Manila, in Makati, who is opening their third office here in November. And they are interested in recruiting people like yourselves. They have a store in the room next door, and they begin with a C. You should go and have a chat to them, okay? Now, this particular company, what it does is when you join the company, they will put you on a short probation period, and if they like what you're about, they will then ask you to undertake as mandatory the Claritas Investment Certificate, which you are expected to clear in a certain period of time. Now, the question I ask you is if you apply for a job at that company and you already have the Claritas Investment Certificate, what position does that put you in relative to the person who does not? Okay, and just so that you can understand this, what you've done is you've taken a cost that the company has had and you've put it on yourself. So you've taken that risk, and your hope is that if you make that investment in yourself, you will get a return. And that is why I started off by saying, if you want to take seriously investing in things that you understand, start off by investing in yourself. And invest in yourself in such a way that you obtain 100,000 pesos you're looking for, so that you can later on, if you have the skills, apply that to investing in stocks and bonds. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Now, I'm going to end up this slide. I have about 6 minutes left, all right? There are a couple of things that I want you to notice about it. The global pass rate for Claritas is currently today 85%. Okay, in other words, 85% of the people who write the exam pass it. Please do not be fooled by that number, okay? I'm certificate number 6274 out of 10,000. The people who've taken Claritas thus far are very much people like me. I came into the finance industry through education. I have a background in economics and law, and I'm an English teacher. All right, but I've worked in finance for a long time. So I'm the kind of person that makes that pass ratio skewed up to 85%. We have clients in Manila who have much lower pass rates. My biggest single client is in India, and their pass rate is around 50%. So I want you to be clear that if you make a decision to make this investment in yourself, you need to take it very seriously. Do not think that that 85% means that you can lie around on the beach and cruise this exam, okay? Because it will take your money away from you and you will have lost that investment. Okay. The average age of people taking Claritas is the mid-30s. As you can see, I'm no longer the mid-30s, all right? But I have one piece of information advantage, and that is my eldest son is early 20s, which is kind of the range of people in this room. Okay? So I have some sense of how young people are thinking about their lives in fast-growing, rapidly changing young economies, which is what South Africa is. Now, if you look a bit further down this list, in fact, I'm not sure if you can read it from there, but you can see the different sectors in which companies are using Claritas. We've got 200 odd companies, 10,000 people, about a third of them are in pure investment management, investment fund services another 30%, and then there's the rest. The rest is communications, banks, brokerages, etc. So this is specifically a qualification if you're interested in finance from an investment perspective, and if you're interested in employment in that realm. Next slide, please. What you will see from this stupidly small and difficult to read slide is the majority of people who have a Claritas investment certificate are in the United States. The Philippines is 2% of the global population. It's in fact a little bit less, but now it's 2%. I've just got the 5-minute sign. All right. So what I want to leave you with here today is that if you take yourself seriously, make that investment. Make an investment in understanding what this industry is about in a way that you can afford that doesn't take a whole year of your life. Then you can make quality decisions about what it is that you want to be doing. My advice to you as a parent of a 20-something-year-old is think first about employment. If you think back to this morning, there was an early discussion about whether you should get very qualified or whether you should get experience. Do you remember that conversation? All right. I know which side of the camp I fall on in that, okay? I believe that if you're in an environment where people are employing young people, and they are in the Philippines, you should get into the workplace and continue to skill yourself up while you're working. That is the approach that I've taken in my life because experience is extremely valuable. Okay. Please visit the CFA website. Please do not buy and register for Claritas until November. And as a person who is promoting the program, I should think twice about saying that. I would feel it was very unethical of me not to say to you that I think there's going to be a price reduction because we've been surprised by the numbers of people who've taken it. Okay, so please wait for that. And look around November. I would feel better for you having done that. And continue, please, to invest in yourselves. I wish you all the best. It's a bright, wonderful country. I love being here. Thank you for your work.